Now, the American Vice President J.D. Vance is on his way to Pakistan. He's in fact leading the U.S. delegation to hold talks with Iranian officials. They'll try and work out to end this war, which has left many parts of West Asia in flames. The American delegation is headed by J.D. Vance and will include the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The composition of the Iranian delegation has not been officially announced yet, but reports say that it may include the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and the Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. Until the Iranian delegation members are confirmed, the United States will not know who is going to be negotiating with the Iranians. This ambiguity has been prevalent for weeks, as has been reflected by some of Trump's earlier statements.
We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to.
Mr. President.
A top person, don't forget.
How much top?
Well, nobody heard of the second supreme leader, the son.
Are these direct?
Nobody, we have not heard from the son. Every once in a while you'll see a statement made, but we haven't. We don't know if he's living.
Mr. President,
I can't.
Mr. President, I know you've deployed.
Because I don't want him to be killed.
Now, for weeks, Trump has been claiming that there's been a regime change that has already occurred in Iran. He says that the now leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, is not actually in charge. He says that the real people in charge are more reasonable than the previous government. Now, Trump has failed to offer proof backing these claims, and a recent assessment by the Israeli military presented to the country's parliament says that the new Iranian government is even more extreme than the last one. And as part of this, Trump has insisted that the U.S. had performed a successful regime change and that Washington has been talking to a new and a much more reasonable Iranian leadership. Throughout this time, Iran's leadership has maintained that it has not been negotiating with the United States of America. It had said that some nations, such as Pakistan, Egypt and Turkey, had worked as interlocutors, passing messages between the United States and Iran. But for its part, Iran has said that the talks in Islamabad will be the first negotiation since the two sides, that is the United States and Israelis, decided to launch this war on Iran. The reports further say that these talks will also be indirect. The delegations are expected to be in separate rooms, with mediators carrying messages from one side to the other. Reports further say that the Serena Hotel that is located next to Pakistan's foreign ministry in Islamabad's red zone is expected to be the venue. And all guests were reportedly asked to vacate the hotel on Wednesday. This is similar to the last set of negotiations between Iran and the United States. The talks were held just before the war began from the American side in last year's negotiations about Iran's nuclear program. Both times, the talks were indirect, and the United States ended them abruptly and decided to stage attacks on Iran. The last direct talks between the United States and Iran were held way back in 2015, and that is when the United States under Barack Obama had finalized the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the JCPOA, or the Iranian nuclear deal. Back then, there had been direct negotiations between the then American Secretary of State John Kerry and the former Foreign Minister of Iran, Mohammad Javad Zarif. But Trump, remember, had tore the Iranian nuclear deal in 2018, describing it as the worst negotiated deal in American history, and there have been no direct talks between the two sides. Obama had decided to offer incentives to Iran to get it to tone down its nuclear program. The nuclear deal had waived sanctions on Iran in exchange for it keeping uranium enrichment below 4% purity. And after the deal came into effect, the United Nations nuclear watchdog had regularly inspected Iran's nuclear facilities and had determined that it was adhering to the terms of the deal. But after Trump came into power the first time round, he proceeded to unilaterally tear up the Iranian nuclear deal in 2018. Trump instead opted for maximum pressure policy towards Iran. He's continued that approach during his second presidential term, and the ultimate result has been the war. Now, Trump's hardline approach, his tearing up of the Iranian nuclear deal, his outright bombings of Iran twice in the middle of negotiations, all of these factors have made the Iranians very distrustful of what the Americans are bringing to the table. So will the talks in Islamabad, headed by J.D. Vance, help rebuild some level of trust between Tehran and Washington? We'll, of course, get to know this when the two sides come face to face.